If you think letting go is just a matter of organization, get ready for a surprise. Every time we hold on to an object from the past, we are not just touching something physical, we are holding a piece of our history. Letting go of it can be much more painful than it seems. That piece of clothing kept for years, that old book, the chipped cup that was once part of a special routine. Everything carries memories, and that is why so many people find it hard to let go. The problem is, no one teaches us how to deal with this emotional weight. If this topic made you think and you want to understand more about how letting go can change your life, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here, we talk about truths that many people ignore but can make all the difference. And tell me in the comments, what is the hardest object you have ever had to leave behind? I will read everything and I want to hear your story. Many times, it is not just about the object. It is about what it represents. A piece of furniture that once belonged to a beloved family member. An item of clothing that reminds you of an important moment. A stack of old letters, filled with words that still carry meaning. Throwing things away is not simply a physical act, it is an emotional confrontation. It feels as if, by letting go of something, we are accepting that a phase of our life is over. This is frightening because it forces us to face the passage of time in a way we cannot control. This is why some people, when they realize this pain, try a radical approach. They do a sudden cleanup, throwing everything away at once, believing they will feel lighter. But what happens afterward? Many regret it. They feel empty, as if they made a rushed decision. Not because the objects were essential, but because they did not give their hearts time to say goodbye. Letting go needs to be a conscious process, a balance between what truly matters and what has already served its purpose. Some objects are easier to discard. Broken things, useless items, papers accumulated over the years. But when an object is connected to a special moment or a deep feeling, the decision becomes difficult. This is where many people fall into the trap of keeping everything. They hold on not because they need it, but because they are afraid of forgetting. But do memories really disappear along with the objects? Or do they remain within us, regardless of what we own? The fear of letting go turns many homes into true museums of memories. Packed closets, shelves full of things, drawers stuffed with items that are no longer used. The problem is, this accumulation does not only happen in the physical space, it also happens in the mind. The excess of objects can create a feeling of heaviness, lack of control, and stagnation. The more we accumulate, the harder the process of letting go becomes, creating a vicious cycle that can last for years. What no one tells you is that this fear of letting go can imprison us. The house becomes filled with things that no longer make sense, the mind becomes burdened with accumulated memories, and little by little, the space that should serve to live the present becomes overloaded by the past. But it is not just the fear of losing memories that keeps us from letting go. There is another feeling, even more cruel, something that holds us back without us realizing it. And that is what we will talk about next. Have you ever held an object and felt a tightness in your chest just thinking about throwing it away? Maybe because it was a gift, because it was expensive, or simply because it brings back memories of someone who is no longer here. This is the weight of guilt, and it can be the biggest enemy of letting go. Often, it is not the usefulness of the object that makes us keep it, but the feeling that by getting rid of it, we would be making a mistake, betraying someone, or wasting something valuable. If you have ever gone through this, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here, we talk about truths that no one dares to tell but that can change your life. And tell me in the comments, what object do you find hardest to let go of? Your answer might help others who are facing the same dilemma. One of the main reasons we accumulate things is the fear of disappointing someone. How many times have you kept a gift just out of obligation? It could be something you never used, that does not match your style, or that does not even make sense in your life, but it was given by someone special. Then comes the thought, what if this person asks about it one day? What if they get hurt when they find out I got rid of it? This emotional weight makes many people hold on to objects they do not need, simply out of fear of hurting someone's feelings. Another common type of guilt is the feeling of waste. Expensive clothes that were never worn, appliances that stayed in the box, items bought with so much excitement but eventually forgotten in a corner. Throwing them away or donating them seems like admitting that the money was wasted, as if letting go of the item means acknowledging it was a mistake to buy it. But what few people realize is that the real waste is not in letting the object go, but in keeping it, occupying space without any purpose. There is also an even deeper kind of guilt, the one that ties us to memories of those who are no longer with us. Photographs, letters, clothes, belongings that were once part of the life of someone we loved. Letting go of these objects can feel like an act of forgetting, as if by getting rid of them, we were erasing that person from our story. But that is not true. The presence of someone in our lives does not depend on physical objects. The memories, the moments shared, the love and lessons continue to live within us, regardless of what we keep. Holding on to the past through objects can bring more suffering than comfort. Instead of keeping everything, an alternative is to choose a few items that truly represent that person and find a special way to value them. A photo album, a symbolic piece, or even transforming something into a decorative item can be a healthier way to preserve the memory without turning your home into a storage place for the past. Guilt makes us accumulate, traps us in emotional cycles that are hard to break, and prevents us from living lightly. The worst part is that we often keep things not just for ourselves but because we believe someone else will want them someday. Then, when the time comes, we realize that this expectation does not always come true. But what happens when it is not just our own guilt holding us back? What if we spend years holding on to something, hoping someone else will want it, only to discover that, in reality, no one cares? Imagine spending years saving something special for your children or grandchildren, believing that one day they will want it. But when you finally offer it, you receive a look of indifference, or worse, a polite, no thanks. It hurts, doesn't it? It feels as if that object, which holds so much meaning for you, has been reduced to something worthless for the new generation. What was once an emotional treasure becomes just another thing taking up space. If this topic has made you think, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here, we talk about realities that few people mention, but that make all the difference when we understand them. And tell me in the comments, have you ever experienced this? Have you tried to give something special to someone only for them to refuse it? I would love to hear your story. Many of us grew up in a time when saving things meant preserving them, when material possessions carried much more meaning than just their practical use. But newer generations live differently. Today, minimalism is a growing trend. Houses are smaller and lifestyles have changed. In the past, sturdy furniture and porcelain dishes were passed down from generation to generation, representing status and tradition. Now, many people prefer practicality, fewer objects, and more open space. Then comes the shock. We spend decades accumulating things, believing that one day a family member will treasure them. But when the moment arrives, the reality is different. The children do not want the old china cabinet, the grandchildren are not interested in the silverware collection, and no one seems to care about the photo albums we spent years organizing. This lack of interest may feel like a sign of ingratitude, but in truth, it has nothing to do with disrespect. It has to do with shifting values and the way each generation relates to material possessions. The disappointment is real. After all, each saved object carries memories, stories, and a piece of our past. We hope that these items will continue to live through our children and grandchildren. But when they are not interested, we feel disposable. Yet, is the true legacy really in the objects? Or is it in the stories we tell, the moments we share, and the lessons we pass on while we are still here? Keeping something for decades in the hope that someone else will want it can lead to frustration and emotional burden. Instead of holding on to everything, why not find new ways to share your stories? If an object holds sentimental value for you, perhaps the most important thing is not passing it on, but sharing the memories it represents. A meaningful conversation, a written account, or even a photograph can have a far greater impact than the object itself. The most important thing to understand is that it is not the things that keep our stories alive. It is the people, the experiences, the time we spend together. What truly matters does not fit inside boxes and drawers. It lives in the hearts of those who have been part of our lives. If you think the biggest problem with accumulating things is sentimental, wait until you realize how much it can limit your own freedom. And that is the next big shock we need to face. What was meant to be comforting turns into a prison. Have you ever noticed how some houses seem to be shrinking? What was once a cozy home can turn into a true maze of accumulated things. And this can affect you more than you might think. Sometimes, we look around and feel that the space is no longer the same. The furniture feels cramped, the hallways are crowded, and the closets can no longer hold anything. But the problem is not that the house got smaller. The problem is the clutter that grew without us noticing. If this topic made you reflect, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here, we talk about truths that many people ignore, but that can change your life. And tell me in the comments, do you feel that your home is becoming overloaded with things? How do you deal with it? I would love to hear your thoughts. Excess belongings do not just take up physical space, they directly affect our well-being. Every item we accumulate demands our attention, even if unconsciously. The home stops being a place of rest and becomes a space where everything requires maintenance, cleaning, and organization. This can lead to mental fatigue, stress, and a constant feeling of disorder. And it is not just the mind that suffers. The accumulation of things can pose real physical risks. How many times have you tripped over something that should not have been there? For some people, a simple object in the way can mean a serious fall. The reduced space makes mobility difficult, prevents rooms from being used comfortably, and can even create barriers inside the home. Suddenly, what should be a welcoming home becomes a daily challenge. Another lesser-known effect of excess clutter is its impact on our mental energy. Research has shown that living in a disorganized environment can increase stress and even contribute to feelings of anxiety. Visual overload and the constant need to decide what to do with so many objects can leave us exhausted before the day even begins. The mind craves order, and when the surrounding space is crowded, our ability to relax and find clarity is compromised. Many people realize too late that they no longer have control over their belongings. They keep things without noticing that, little by little, these objects start to take over the space and even limit their choices. The home, which should be a refuge, turns into a storage space for memories, accumulating not only objects but also emotional weight. But what if I told you that letting go is not a one-time event, but a never-ending process? And that without a shift in mindset, all the clutter can return even faster? Many people believe that a single day of organization is enough to solve everything. But the truth is, if you do not change the way you deal with objects, clutter will always come back. Letting go is not an end, it is a habit. Some people get excited, do a big cleanup, get rid of several items, and feel immediate relief. But a few weeks later, they realize the house is full again, and the mess starts to reappear. This happens because the problem is not only in what we keep but in how we handle consumption and emotional attachment. If you have been through this or want to learn how to keep your home and life more organized, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here, we talk about truths that can transform your way of living. And tell me in the comments, have you ever tried to get rid of something only to end up accumulating everything again? I would love to hear about your experience. Avoiding the rebound effect of clutter requires a mindset shift. The first step is to adopt a clear criterion about what truly deserves to stay. Many times, we keep things without even thinking if they still make sense in our lives. Developing the habit of questioning whether an item has real usefulness or value prevents new clutter from building up. Before bringing something new home, ask yourself if it will truly add value or if it is just a momentary desire. Another essential strategy is to establish a system of continuous maintenance. There is no point in waiting until the house is full to do another cleanup. Small daily or weekly habits can prevent the mess from returning. Setting aside one day a month to review clothes, documents, or personal items can make a big difference. The idea is not to live constantly getting rid of everything but to create a more balanced relationship with the objects around us. Often, we accumulate things because we fear we might need them in the future. But the truth is, most of the things we keep, just in case, end up forgotten in the back of a closet. If something has not been useful in recent years, the chances of it becoming necessary again are very small. And even if one day you need it, there will likely be other solutions besides keeping an endless stockpile of things. Simplifying life does not mean living with nothing. It means keeping only what truly adds value. Excess belongings can take up not only physical space but also mental space. The more things we have to manage, the more our energy is drained. Letting go should not be seen as a loss, but as an opportunity to create a lighter, more functional, and harmonious environment. Along this journey, one important reflection remains. It is not the objects that define our story but the experiences we live. Keeping what truly matters and making room for the new is a choice that brings more freedom. Now comes the most important question. If you could choose only a few things to take into the future, what would truly be worth it? Life is not found in the objects we keep, it is in the experiences we live. The more space we fill with the past, the less room we leave for the future. Holding on to memories is natural, but when objects become a burden, we need to reflect on what truly matters. Excessive attachments can hold us back, while the lightness of letting go gives us the freedom to fully live in the present. If this content resonated with you, like this video and subscribe to the channel for more reflections that can transform the way you see life. And tell me in the comments, what is the biggest challenge you face when trying to let go? I would love to hear about your experience. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It means valuing what truly makes sense. Freeing ourselves from excess allows us to move forward with more clarity and fewer regrets. Instead of focusing on what is left behind, how about thinking about what is still to come? If you could choose only a few things to take into the future, what would truly be worth it?